In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius writes, "You become what you give your attention to." And I believe this statement is extremely true. The reason being is what you give your attention to, you emotionally invest in. And what you emotionally invest in has the ability to influence your decision, to influence your mood, your emotions. So in the end, what you give your attention to is what you will become. From my experience, this is extremely true, that what I've given my attention to, I've always become, or at least become similar to that thing that I'm giving my attention to. So I have two distinct scenarios where this actually happened. So the first one, in peak lockdown 2020, I was obsessed with like spirituality and Christianity because, yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm a Christian. So literally everything I would watch, everything I do would be associated with that. So literally when I'd be cooking, I'd be listening to a sermon. I remember every single day at 4 p.m. I'd go outside, I'd read my Bible, I'd journal, I'd pray, things like that. I was giving so much attention to Christianity, to the Bible, to Jesus. And to this day, I think that's the closest I've ever been to God. Obviously, it would be nice to say I've gotten closer to Him since that period, but that is the period where I was giving the most attention to my spiritual life, to God. And because I was giving so much attention to that, I became that which I was giving my attention to. I'm not saying I became God, but I was focusing on like godly things. And because I was focusing and constantly thinking about godly things, I became more godly. And it's quite a shame because at that time I was 17 years old and now I'm 19 and a half, but it's not important. And I still look back and marvel at how close I was to God during that time. Like I could vividly hear God like during my days. Many people say that, how do I hear from God? How do I do this? Like, this is a side note. Like, if you want to skip, you can skip. This is a side note. If you want to listen to God, you have to quiet down the noise of the earth and you have to slow down your life. Because God speaks at a quiet, slow pace. And the nature of the world nowadays is like fast, extra fast, decision, doing that. So if you want to listen to God, you have to detach yourself from that world. And lockdown was the perfect time to do that, and I guess it's been hard. I'm lying, it wasn't hard. I just haven't been putting as much attention into it as I should be doing. And the second example is literally right now. See, over the past year, I've been so obsessed with improving myself, becoming my best version. And you see, the thing with becoming your best version is like walking down a road that never ends because you can never become your best version. We are incapable of being perfect. So the fact that we're incapable of being perfect means that we can always improve. So you will never actually become your best self. Like the best possible version of you. It's impossible. But you can strive to get as close to that best possible version as possible. But anyways, the point is I've been so obsessed with improving myself. About 80 to 90% of my attention is directed towards improving myself, towards educational content, towards like just people who I can try emulate in my life. And the crazy thing is that it's been seamlessly effortless. But like I'm slowly becoming the type of people that I'm like paying attention to. I'm slowly becoming the type of man that I want to become. And I know that if I continue down this path, I will inevitably become that which I'm giving my attention to. So I'll inevitably become a successful entrepreneur. I'll inevitably become a man of great character, a man of humility, integrity, respect, and empathy. Like it's impossible. These are laws of the universe. So like all philosophy, it shouldn't just be read, it should be applied to your life. So the first thing I'd like to ask you is that, what are you giving your attention to? So obviously right now, if you're watching this video, you're giving your attention to this video. And I'd like to believe that I produce good content that will be a net positive on the world. So fair enough, it's good that you're giving your attention to this video or to this type of content. You can watch other YouTubers that you like. I'm not saying you have to watch me. But what do you give your attention to? Like, for most of the day, what do you give your attention to? What thoughts do you entertain the most? What things do you choose to pay the most attention to? Like, let's say you see like 3 different scenarios. Which scenario will you pay the most attention to? Because what you give your attention to is what you will become. So you really have to examine it. You really have to decide whether what you are giving your attention to is worth becoming. Like, do you want to become that which you give your attention to? So before you even like do anything else, you need to ask yourself and you need to find out what you give most of your attention to. And the truth is, the first time you do this, you probably won't like your answer. it will probably be the thing that you shouldn't be giving most of your attention to. So after you distinguish what you've been giving most of your attention to, the next thing that you need to do is decide the direction that you want to go in. Decide the type of person that you want to be. And the reason why this is so important is because once you decide the type of person you want to be and which direction you're going in, you can now think, what would this person give his attention to? What would this person spend his hours of the day doing? And then once you find out what that type of person spends his time doing, what he gives his attention to, you do the exact same things. And you don't have to be copying some other person. You can just think of the hypothetical version of yourself 5 years from now that you want to be. So after you've identified the things that you should be giving your attention to, now what you need to do is audit your social media. Like, start with auditing your social media. So remove anything that is not constructive. Remove anything that does not serve your purpose. So if there's, let's say, a meme page that's always negative and you're trying to be more positive, unfollow it. If there are people that you follow that you don't really know and you don't really care about, and they post conflicting content or content that doesn't align with your purpose or what you are trying to achieve, unfollow them. Make sure that while you're on social media, which you shouldn't spend much time on, but make sure that while you're on social media that you do not give your attention to anything that is not beneficial to you. And then after you've audited your social media, now you have to force yourself, literally force yourself to pay attention to the things that you should be paying attention to. So let's say you want to be a man of more integrity. In every situation, think, what would a person of integrity do? Think about the version of you 10 months from now who has complete integrity. What would he do? What would John 10 months from now do? And see, once you start to apply what I've told you about how what you give your attention to is what you will become, you slowly see yourself making progress to becoming that which you've given your attention to. Like, I know it sounds wishy-washy. A lot of philosophy sounds wishy-washy unless you literally sit down and think about it. So I want you to try implement this into your life. To try focus your attention on things that actually matter, on things that will help you in the future. Because what you give your attention to is what you will become. So make sure that what you are paying attention to is something constructive. That's it for the second episode of this philosophy series. I can tell for a fact that I'm going to enjoy this. I'll probably do this for the rest of my life. I hope you enjoyed this one. Comment down below what you think about the idea of what you give your attention to is what you will become. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear how you've applied it to your life, how you will apply it to your life, and anything that you have to add on to that. I would love to hear your feedback. This philosophy series, I don't want it to just be like one-ended where I'm telling you something. The comments are going to be a place where we discuss. I will reply to certain comments. I'll reply to comments that I find interesting. Have a great day. Make sure you're bridging the gap. If you know, you know.